The rain hammered against the windows of our small cottage in the Cotswolds, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. For 20 years, Ingrid and I had built a life here, a quiet, comfortable existence filled with Sunday roasts, rambling walks, and the comforting predictability of routine. Bastian worked as a software engineer, a job that suited my methodical nature. Ingrid, a talented potter, filled our home with her beautiful, earthy creations. Or at least, that's what I thought our life was. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. Ingrid, always a vibrant and social woman, began spending more time at the studio. Late nights, early mornings, all in the name of her art. I didn't question it at first. I admired her dedication. But then came the hushed phone calls, the secretive smiles, the way she'd flinch when I touched her. The scent of a cologne that wasn't mine lingered on her clothes. My stomach churned with a feeling I hadn't experienced since childhood, a cold, gnawing fear. One Tuesday, she told me she had a pottery convention in Bristol. "It's a big opportunity, Bastian," she said, her eyes avoiding mine. "I'll be gone for 3 days." I kissed her goodbye, a hollow gesture, and watched her drive away. That night, sleep evaded me. The silence of the cottage was deafening, amplifying my growing unease. I found myself drawn to her laptop, something I rarely did. It felt like an invasion of privacy, but the suspicion had taken root, and I couldn't ignore it. A quick search through her browser history revealed nothing. She was always careful. Then I remembered the external hard drive she used to back up her work. It was tucked away in a drawer in her studio. With trembling hands, I plugged it into my computer. The files were meticulously organized, labeled by date and project. I scrolled through the folders, my heart pounding in my chest. And then I saw it, a folder labeled Bristol Project. My blood ran cold. I clicked on it and a series of photos appeared on the screen. Photos of Ingrid and another man. Not just any man, but Cassian, her business partner from the studio. They were in a hotel room, laughing, embracing, kissing. The images seared themselves into my brain, each one a fresh stab of betrayal. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut, the air knocked out of me. The room spun and I stumbled back, collapsing into a chair. My world, my carefully constructed reality, shattered into a million pieces. Rage, hot and blinding, surged through me. I wanted to scream, to break things, to inflict the same pain on them that they had inflicted on me. But beneath the anger was a deeper, more profound sadness. 20 years. 20 years of shared memories, of laughter and tears, of building a life together. All of it reduced to this tawdry affair, a betrayal of the vows we'd made. I spent the next few hours in a daze, replaying the photos in my mind, each image a fresh wave of nausea. I couldn't breathe, I couldn't think, I couldn't feel anything but the crushing weight of heartbreak. As dawn broke, painting the sky in hues of gray and pink, a strange sense of calm descended upon me. The anger hadn't dissipated, but it was tempered by a cold, steely resolve. I wouldn't let them destroy me. I wouldn't wallow in self-pity. I would fight back, not with violence or rage, but with a quiet, calculated determination. I started by contacting a solicitor, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Bront. I explained the situation, showed her the photos. "We have grounds for a very favorable divorce settlement, Bastian," she said, her eyes gleaming. "Adultery is still a factor in these cases." I instructed her to begin the proceedings immediately, to leave no stone unturned. I wanted everything: the house, the savings, the business, everything they had built together. Next, I contacted a private investigator, a discreet, resourceful man named Sterling. I tasked him with gathering information on Cassian, his finances, his personal life, his weaknesses. I wanted to know everything about the man who had stolen my wife. Sterling proved to be worth his weight in gold. Within a week, he had uncovered a treasure trove of information. Cassian, it turned out, was not the successful, upstanding businessman he portrayed himself to be. He was deeply in debt, his pottery business was on the verge of collapse, and he had a string of failed relationships behind him. He was a user, a manipulator, a parasite. The pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. Ingrid wasn't just having an affair, she was being manipulated, used for her money and her connections. The realization didn't lessen the pain, but it did give me a sense of purpose. I wouldn't just divorce her. I would expose them, ruin them, make them pay for what they had done. When Ingrid returned from Bristol, she seemed different, almost guilty. She showered me with affection, cooked my favorite meals, and tried to engage me in conversation. I played along, feigning ignorance, watching her every move, listening to her every word, searching for any sign of remorse. But there was none. She was a master of deception, a skilled actress who could lie with a straight face. I felt a surge of disgust, a deep revulsion for the woman I had once loved. One evening I decided to confront her. "Ingrid," I said, my voice calm and controlled, "I know about Cassian." Her face paled, her eyes widened in panic. What are you talking about?" she stammered. "Don't play coy with me, Ingrid," I said, my voice hardening. "I've seen the photos, I know everything." She burst into tears, falling to her knees, begging for forgiveness. "It was a mistake, Bastian," she sobbed. "I didn't mean for it to happen. Please give me another chance." I looked down at her, my heart filled with a strange mixture of pity and contempt. "Another chance," I said, my voice cold. "You had 20 years, Ingrid. You wasted them." I turned and walked away, leaving her sobbing on the floor. The next morning I served her with the divorce papers. She was devastated, pleading with me to reconsider, promising to end the affair. But I was unmoved. The trust was gone, shattered beyond repair. There was no going back. The divorce was swift and brutal. Braunt, my solicitor, fought tooth and nail, securing a settlement that left Ingrid with virtually nothing. The house, the savings, the business, all mine. She was left with a pittance, barely enough to survive. Cassian, meanwhile, was facing his own reckoning. Sterling, the private investigator, had leaked the information about his financial troubles and his affair with Ingrid to his creditors and his investors. His business collapsed, his reputation was ruined, and he was left a pariah. He tried to blame Ingrid, accusing her of using him, of leading him on, but she was having none of it. She turned on him, revealing his own lies and manipulations. They turned on each other like wolves, tearing each other apart. I watched it all unfold from a distance, a grim satisfaction washing over me. They had destroyed my life, and I had destroyed theirs. It wasn't revenge, not exactly. It was justice, a restoration of balance. I sold the cottage in the Cotswolds, the place that held so many bittersweet memories. I needed a fresh start, a new beginning. I moved to London, taking a job with a tech startup. I threw myself into my work, immersing myself in the challenges and the opportunities that the city offered. I started dating again, cautiously, tentatively. It was difficult to trust after what had happened, but I refused to let Ingrid's betrayal define me. I met a woman named Aloan, an artist, a free spirit who saw the world in a different light. She was kind, compassionate, and fiercely independent. She helped me to heal, to move on, to believe in love again. One day I received a letter from Ingrid. It was a rambling, incoherent mess, filled with apologies, regrets, and accusations. She was living in a small, run-down apartment, working as a waitress to make ends meet. Cassian had abandoned her, leaving her penniless and alone. She begged me for forgiveness, for a second chance. I read the letter without emotion, my heart untouched. I had moved on, built a new life for myself. I had no room for her in my present or my future. I threw the letter in the bin and walked away, leaving the past behind me. The rain still falls in the Cotswolds, but it no longer carries the sting of betrayal. The sun shines brighter in London, illuminating a path forward, a path filled with hope, healing, and the promise of a new beginning. I had survived the storm, emerged stronger and wiser. And in the end, that was all that mattered. Years passed. Aloan and I built a beautiful life together. We traveled the world, explored new cultures, and shared countless adventures. The memories of Ingrid faded, becoming distant and indistinct, like a faded photograph. I occasionally wondered what had become of her, but I never sought her out. The past was the past, and I had no desire to revisit it. Then one cold December evening I received a phone call. It was Braunt, my solicitor. "Bastian," she said, her voice grave, "I have some news about Ingrid." My heart skipped a beat. A cold dread washed over me. "What is it?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Ingrid passed away," she said. "She had been ill for some time." I was silent for a moment, trying to process the information. Ingrid was dead. The woman I had loved, the woman who had betrayed me, the woman who had shaped my life in so many ways, was gone. I felt a strange mixture of emotions: sadness, regret, relief. But most of all, I felt a profound sense of closure. Braunt continued, "There's something else, Bastian. Ingrid left you something in her will." I was surprised. I hadn't expected that. "What is it?" I asked. "It's a box," Bront said. "A small wooden box. She instructed me to give it to you after her death." I agreed to meet Bront the next day to collect the box. I spent the night tossing and turning, wondering what it could contain. Old photographs, letters, a final desperate plea for forgiveness. The next morning I met Bront at her office. She handed me the box, a small, unassuming wooden chest. It was plain and unadorned, with no inscription or markings. I thanked Bront and left, clutching the box tightly in my hands. I drove home, my mind racing. Aloan was at her studio, so I had the house to myself. I sat down at the kitchen table, took a deep breath, and opened the box. Inside, nestled on a bed of faded velvet, was a single object, a small clay figurine. It was one of Ingrid's earliest creations, a simple, imperfect representation of a bird. I remembered the day she had made it. We were young, newly in love, full of dreams and aspirations. She had given me the figurine as a gift, a symbol of our love and our commitment to each other. Tears welled up in my eyes as I held the figurine in my hand. It was a reminder of a time when things were simple, when our love was pure and untainted. It was a reminder of the woman Ingrid had once been, before the betrayal, before the lies, before the pain. It was a reminder of the love we had shared, a love that had ultimately been destroyed by her own choices. I closed the box, the figurine safely inside. I would keep it, not as a reminder of the pain and the betrayal, but as a reminder of the love that had once been. It was a part of my history, a part of who I was, and in the end that was all that mattered. I placed the box on a shelf in my study, alongside other mementos of my life. It was a reminder of the past, but it wouldn't define my future. I had learned from my mistakes, grown from my experiences, and emerged stronger and wiser. I was ready to embrace the future with all its uncertainties and possibilities. I had found love again, built a new life, and discovered a new sense of purpose. And in the end, that was all that mattered. As I looked out the window, watching the rain fall on the streets of London, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. The storm had passed, and the sun was beginning to break through the clouds. The future was uncertain, but I was ready to face it, with courage, resilience, and an unwavering belief in the power of love and forgiveness.